up, guys? DT Ninja here to bring you my latest episode of Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory, Episode 5, Welcome to the Jungle. Okay, guys, first things first. Sorry for the late upload, but my original video was not, it was kind of taken down by YouTube. It was blocked worldwide. I don't know if it's the video in the background that usually plays or what, but I have a feeling that's the reason, so I had to redo this video, so that's why this is late. But that is not going to take away me doing the review, because this episode was very well done. I really enjoyed it. The animation was nice to look at. You know, we had new characters, we had character development with Nami and her backstory. You know, Lemon as the photographer slash journalist. You know, Sosuke and his interactions with Nami. But like I said, Nami similar to Kaname, especially in the eyes. So if you look at her in the eyes, you know, you have a similarity there. Also in personality, she's tough. You know, she's holding a gun out. You know, she basically pulled a gun out on you know, one of the thugs and trying to, you know, help the foreigner, you know, Lemon out. So pretty awesome. Also, Nami is a babe. I love Nami. Nami's character, really interesting. I like how she has depth. She has depth. She's not just the selfish girl. You know, she has, you know, this touching story, this sad story that is the reason for her motivation. There's a lot of things with Nami that's very interesting. Also that she's very knowledgeable about AS units and just has this natural ability to understand this technology. But anyways, I did like the episode. It had a lot, you know, and there were some funny moments. You know, Nami, you know, with the gun, and she's like, well, it's fake, it's not really, and she's like, bang, and she shoots it, but obviously it had no bullets, and you know, the foreigner's like jumping backwards, and you know, so those were funny moments. The other one had to be at the end where Lemon is in the hotel and he thinks he's alone. He wakes up and he sees Nami half naked next to him, and he's like, what have I done? I slept with a minor. Oh my god. And it's really funny because when he falls on the ground, he sees Sosuke on the bed and he's like, I can't eat another bite. And I think he's holding a knife. So it's a really funny moment to end the episode. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So I really enjoyed this episode. New arc. You know, it is a new beginning. You know, Sosuke's starting over. Like I said, you know, he's starting a new life after losing everything in Tokyo, so this is the story now. So this is 1 month later, by the way. It is not really explained in the episode, but it's 1 month later. It is explained in the manga, so if you guys want to read the manga, Chapter 28 is where this episode takes place. And I believe it's 2 chapters. It's 28 and 29. But there are some things that I noticed in this episode that caught my eye. So I want to share those with you guys. And then I have some memorable scenes. Some of them I already went over with you guys. But I'm talking about the ones that I didn't talk about already. So things I noticed. Okay. Sosuke's nightmare. Okay, at the very beginning of the episode, we see Sosuke grimacing. He's breathing hard. He has a gun, you know, holding to his chest. You know, that's not abnormal for him. But at the same time, you know, there's something wrong. He's having a nightmare. We don't know what it is, but we have an idea, right? I'm sure it's something to do with losing Kaname leaving, with Leonard not being able, feeling helpless, probably these things, but it's not shown. So that was a little disappointing. I kind of wish we got a little insight into his mind. You know, what exactly is he seeing in, you know, this nightmare? So I want to share with you guys exactly what he sees, because in the novel, which I have on my phone, guys, this is novel 8, by the way, Burning Man Force. And And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the prologue, which is his nightmare. So there are some things that you might recognize and things that you might be like, what is happening? Because I felt the same way when reading this novel. So I was really hoping that the anime was going to, show these images, but they didn't. So I will share them with you here. Now, I prepared the novel link in the description so you guys can follow along, or you can read it afterwards. So, prologue. If you're careless and your mind becomes clouded, it is possible for the world around you, the world you know, will cease to exist. From then on, everything is vague and unclear. Places and time, oneself, as well as other people. I don't want to die without knowing anything. A girl wearing dragonfly glasses protests loudly as tears from her eyes fall from her eyes. C4 explosives are wrapped firmly around her torso. A 16-circuit bomb. If the wrong wire is cut, the bomb will explode instantaneously with deadly force. An innocent girl would be blown away in an instant, leaving her body as nothing more than flesh and blood scattered on the ground. It all spirals into darkness. Inside the cramped cockpit, endless information keeps flooding the multi-purpose screen. In the process of starting up all components, fuselage control unit, fuselage diagnostic unit, passive perception unit, startup complete. The generator's coolant unit is entering a low groan that steadily grows louder. He adjusts his grip slightly, trembling throttle, trigger position confirmed. Checklist abbreviated. The enemy immediately advances towards him. It all spirals into darkness. This girl, who always had strong eyes, pauses her hand in the middle of cutting his hair. Quietly, she looks at him in the eye and hesitates. Hey, why don't we kiss? There is no reason for him to refuse. He is forming the response when she presses the razor against his throat. You want to see me dead, don't you? It's impossible. Eyes full of disdain, her hand moves. The sharp blade sinks into the skin, then the windpipe, and slices through his jugular. He can't even cry out her name. The only sound that escapes him is a strange, wet gurgling. It all spirals into darkness. The passenger plane crash lands into a world of water. It's cold, cold. His beloved mother is no longer warm. While embraced in darkness, not only does he move, two muttered words are the only things echoing in his ears. Live. Fight. Help never comes. The water divides. The crashed airplane, holding him within, sinks deeper into the cold sea. He feels nothing anymore. Or maybe that is the ideal ending. It all spirals into darkness. The sky is clear and the weather is fine. Somewhere in the courtyard, surrounded by many windows and many people, a girl he doesn't know appears, standing alone, standing still before him. Her head is bowed. She's crying. Idiot. Leave, she whispers. Everyone looks at him and sneers, throwing jeers and ridiculing him. And then, radiance. A burning light stung his eyes as he slowly returned to his senses. As if he were injured, his fuzzy mind called upon the soldier within him and began to question himself. Where am I? Under the bed. Sunlight shone through the window and was thrown across his closed eyelids. A cheap motel bed. A motel in a town called Namsak. A town located in the tiny corner of Southeast Asia. Who am I? I'm Sagara Sosuke, Kashim, Sosuke Seagal, Sergeant, Urzu 7. He had been called various names. Now, it was morning already, probably 7 o'clock, it seemed. Last night he wandered around so much that fatigue had finally set in. He most likely got maybe 6 hours of sleep. How did I get here? Counterfeit passports were prepared. Several airmail connection flights were taken, and land route was used as well. The region has some leads, but nothing really matters. Then why am I here? It was decided the enemy would be hunted down. Okay, guys, it's almost like a poem in a way. A repeated thing is it all spirals into darkness, so you can definitely tell he's in despair. So as you can see, this is his nightmare. Some things that he recalls are recent, the one with Kyoko trying to disarm the bomb, where she's like, I don't want to die without knowing anything. So we definitely know that's Kyoko. The next one where a girl is cutting his hair, that probably is Kaname from the second raid where she cuts his hair. But then something about a razor slicing through his jugular, it's almost like he's using that and combining it with something really dark, because maybe this is the interpretation of her leaving with Leonard, maybe condescending to him, because we all know in the novel, he knocks her out. Also, she kind of condescends and kind of says she's above him and he's just like the rest of the people, not like a whispered. So maybe this is all something about that. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it is his interpretation of losing everything, being in despair. And then there's this part where he's talking about his mother. I'm not sure. Crash landing into the ocean and live and fight. Is this his actual mother or something? I found that very interesting, mysterious. And then there's this girl in the courtyard that calls him an idiot. With all the classmates ridiculing him. That obviously is probably the school, and his classmates when he left in disgrace. So there's definitely some pieces to the puzzle that we do know, and there's others that we don't. But it is very interesting, so I did want to share that with you guys. I kind of wish the anime had gone over some of these images and maybe given us some insight to what he was seeing and what he was experiencing in that nightmare. So the next thing is this billboard. Okay, so in Namsak, there's this billboard that welcomes you to the town, and there are 3 pictures on the billboard. There's one of the the shop area. There's one of the arena. That's obvious. We're gonna get to the arena. But then after that, there's this coffee shop. Now, I didn't think too much anything of it, but after they after they win in the arena, their first match, they go celebrate at a place, a bar or shop. Well, it turns out to be this exact place that is shown on the billboard, and I found that interesting. It's very quick, so it's hard to see, but if you look at that billboard and you go to that part right where they're celebrating, it's the exact same one. So I noticed that. The next thing, Bloody Queen. In the arena, obviously there's, AS units are fighting, all different kind of units, but one of them is Bloody Queen, and this is one that Nami, tells Lemon about, and he won, and they're kind of celebrating, and he's like in purple and red. Anyways, these AS units have sponsors, so they have sponsors that give them money, promoting them. So one of the sponsors on Bloody Queen is actually Namco Bandai. Bandai Namco is the sponsor of Bloody Queen, and I found that interesting because we all know Bandai is, a figure and video games They're very well known for this, so I found that interesting, and I wanted to share, there's a new video game coming out for Full Metal Panic. It's called Fight Who Dares Wins, and I wanted to share that with you guys. It's for the PS4. I'm not sure if it's for other consoles. I'm sure it is, but I found that interesting, so they're actually sponsoring, their own stuff in the anime. So I found that interesting. They actually have the actual logo on one of the AS units. So that was pretty cool. Another thing, the arena itself seems to be the main source of income and, source for the economy to grow. So the arena obviously is booming, right? The arena is booming, and it's very popular. It's illegal gambling, and we obviously know this. It's illegal gambling, and Nami explains that the government, the police, they don't do anything about it because it is helping the town grow. It's helping it grow, so they're not going to really do anything and shut it down because it's actually benefiting their economy. But on the other hand, it probably means that the police and government are corrupt. It probably means that because you definitely see Namsak is this, it's kind of dangerous, right? The very beginning of the episode, we see Lemon, he bumps into a guy, and on the street, he ends up in the alleyway, but he's like screaming out, Dadaka, Dadaka, someone help me. But everyone turns their head. It's almost like it's a common thing that foreigners are roughed up and, taken advantage of. Dao, this thug, is trying to steal from Lemon, the photographer. So, and it happens again, Rick, the American, soldier that was the pilot before Sosuke, he's murdered. So this is another thing, it seems to be a common thing here. And then again, Nami is attacked by Dao. So there are a lot of instances where, violence seems to be common in this town. So, I guess that could be anywhere, but it seems even more so, especially due to the arena, because you have these fights, they're violent, so it definitely brings on this, violence and, just this corruption of the government. So definitely, and obviously the desire for money is another thing, obviously stealing and assaults and things like that. So, but anyway, that's just something that I noticed. Now, the next thing, Nami has this natural ability to understand technology. Now, we've seen this before, even at the very beginning of the series of Full Metal Panic. But the point here is that you see her on a computer, she's typing, and she definitely knows technology. She definitely knows AS units. And this is not something normal for a 16-year-old girl. I believe she's 16 years old. But it's not normal, right? It's not normal. And that is something that reflects back to Kaname, because in the episode 4, the last episode, we also saw Kaname helping Sosuke prepare for his mission to save the school from the bombs, right? She actually is typing on the computer, using her knowledge of black technology to, neutralize the bombs using Arbalest. And so we get that connection between Nami and Kaname. Is Nami, similar to Kaname? I would definitely say so, yes. Next thing, Dao's unit in the arena when he fights Sosuke is sponsored by Skynet. Now, as you guys know, Skynet is the organization that creates artificial intelligence. The Terminator, right? The Terminator is created by Skynet. So I found that really funny because Dao comes in like this badass, and, they're like, you can Dao, I love how they introduced the names too there, and it's Sosuke Seagull, it's really funny. They made it really exaggerated, and it was really awesome. But the funny thing is, Sosuke falls down, so everyone's laughing at him. He has no chance. And this guy that, has been in these arena fights for a long time, I'm sure, goes in and he tries to take him out in one punch, and Sosuke catches him and tosses him flying in the air. And it's like, this guy ain't the Terminator. Come on now. He got his ass handed to him. So that was really funny. So on to memorable scenes. Memorable scenes. Obviously, I mentioned one of them, Nami at the beginning with the gun. She has a fake gun and she shoots it at Lemon just to show it's fake, and he jumps backwards. That was a great scene. I did explain that already, but that was a great introduction to her character. You know, it also showed her personality, so that was really great. And then when Nami is assaulted by Dao, okay, she's punched in the face a few times after she calls him a pathetic bastard. You know, he gets really upset. You know, you're gonna become my woman even if I have to drug you and all this. You are worthless. You're pathetic. And you know, he just roughs her up. Sosuke shows up. Dao is like, you know, this guy's pathetic. I'm gonna take him out. He rushes him with a knife, and Sosuke blocks it. He takes the knife with the other hand and sticks the knife through his neck. And, you know, he's like, don't you ever lay a finger on her ever again. Swear it. And he's like, corduroid artery, 2 inches away. If I pull it out, if I move it any further, I will kill you. So I love that scene. It was just badass, and it kind of added to, you know, the seriousness of the, you know, the situation, the scene. But it also, you know, in the anime, they're adding, you know, they're really pushing for Nami to be closer to Sosuke, and I did like that. I like that. But it also, you know, like I said, Kaname and Nami have this similarity as well, so you definitely can see it there. But I did like the scene. I really thought it was awesome. That look in Sosuke's eyes was so awesome. That was really cool. Another memorable scene had to be the scene where Sosuke shows up and kind of, you know, reveals that, you know, he knows a lot about ASs, and Nami is, you know, kind of skeptical. She's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, he's like, I know a little, and she's like laughing at him. This is military equipment. You know, it's not for some amateur like you. And he goes all into it, and he's like, I bet you memorized that, didn't you? And so he says this quote, which is interesting because it's something that he said to Kaname way back in episode 5. And I actually have the book to, you know, share that with you. She says, you're probably just some amateur, aren't you? And he says, I'm not an amateur. I'm a specialist. And so he says this a couple times. One in the episodes, he said that to this, you know, computer. He says, I'm not a nerd, I'm a specialist. But in this case, it's more serious. It's just like episode 5, where Kaname, you know, is being rescued, and he gets in one of the same units. And I think it's a Savage as well. I'm not sure if it's an RK-91, but it is a same unit, and he gets in it, and he's like, I'm not an amateur, I'm a specialist, because Kaname is like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You don't know how to operate that. So he reveals that he actually knows what he's talking about, and this is where it is. Episode 5, The Whispered. So right there, the quote is right there. I'm not an amateur, I'm a specialist. So I really like how they, you know, incorporated the original season 1 back into this season, because it really is part of his character, and it also reflects another thing about Nami and Kaname back together, you know, connecting them together. So I did like that. But guys, the last thing I want to share with you guys is the very end. The very end had a special opening. If you guys noticed it, it was a English opening. English. Moshimo, usually, even if, you know, the opening song, that is usually all in Japanese, but this time it was all dubbed in English. And it wasn't just, you know, English sub. No, this was all English sung all in English. So the original artist, she sang the song all in English, and it sounded wow. It sounded really good. So I was wowed. I was surprised. It was a nice surprise at the end of the episode. So overall, the episode was great. It was a good start to the new arc, and I cannot wait to see more of this arc. So I was really impressed. Like I said, the only things that were a little disappointing were I wish that we got some, confirmation on what it was that he was having a nightmare about. Now, we do have an idea, right? It was probably Kaname, but there was more to it, so I found that interesting. Another thing is I wish we would have seen something more like, from his schoolmates, especially when she mentioned the school. But other than that, it was really well done. I enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review, and I will see you guys in the next one.